Hi, this is Jeremiah from MoreDirectBooking.com, and today I want to answer a very essential question for your hotel and for your career. Are you ready to beat the OTAs at their own game? All right? I'll show you how to do that in this video, and I'll show you how to do that by, first of all, getting rid of two nearly fatal industry ironies that are probably killing your bottom line. And we need to do that quick. First of all, a little background on who I am and how I can help you do this. I am the only business-to-business copywriter in the hospitality industry specializing in technology. And that has kind of given me some privileged access. It's let me work with big companies, and it's let me take a peek behind what they're doing right now, a peek behind the curtain to see what they're doing to drive innovation, to drive revenues, and to help their clients get a competitive advantage. Last year, for example, I was fortunate enough to attend the HSMAI Leadership Conference in Boca Raton, Florida. It was a beautiful, beautiful event. I went to Rocket, and I also went to about 7 trade shows as a vendor and as an attendee. It's lots of good experience, and all of this has kind of given me an insight that most people don't have. So think of me as a bit of a detective. And I'm here to show you what I've discovered. For example, over the past 5 years in the hospitality industry, I've discovered 2 gigantic ironies that are probably holding your revenues back. Just for example, last week I went to the 3-day HEDNA conference at the beautiful Omni San Diego. Great time, great people, really inspiring presentations. Now, for those of you who do not know HEDNA, they are the best of the best in the distribution landscape. They come from hotel companies like Accor, MGM, Destination Hotels and Resorts, and many, many more. Lots of great speakers, and it was a very exclusive event. Ticket price for tickets was $2,195. So really, these were the heavy hitters. For example, there, Michael Dominguez, Chief Marketing Officer from MGM, he pointed to the first irony that I've kind of discovered in the industry, and he pointed to it in a way that put everyone on notice. He said, 40% of the people in this room will be irrelevant in the next 5 years. Can you imagine that? Of the best, 40% gone. Can you imagine that, right? So this coming from somebody who really knows the business, it speaks to an essential fact. Even though the hospitality industry is incredibly susceptible to changes in consumer confidence in the economy, we aren't very proactive. It's ironic, isn't it? Even a little bit sad that an industry that really lives and dies by how confident consumers are, we don't have a fallback plan. We aren't able to change to stay ahead of those trends, not like Amazon, not like Expedia. You know, we're not able to stay ahead of this. And let me look at this graph from STR to show you what that's looked like over the past 10 years. So I want you to look at the volatility that's in the market today. Now, I didn't put this graph together, so I'm not responsible for all these data points. But what this graph basically shows is this is occupancy, and this is ADR. And from 2006, you could see ADR climbing until it kind of pushed against some resistance in the economy. And then in 2008, when the economy went over a ledge, so did occupancy and so did ADR. It slid down to the depths of February 2010. And it was a long, slow, plodding plug to get it back to where it is these days. Well, at least kind of these days. This is January 2016. That's when the graph for STR kind of ended, and where I picked up. I picked up these data points from September, October, November, December, December 31st, January 10th. You know, these are different people studying this graph, so I'm not too sure if it is following the same methodologies that they had. But look at this, look at that volatility. Look at how occupancy has gone off the chart on the right to off the chart on the left. Occupancy nowadays is at 47%, down from 68% last September. That's a huge variance of national averages. So we, as an industry, even though volatility is this crazy, we are not that crazy for change. We're not that crazy for staying ahead of it. So that's irony number one. Now, during this presentation, Mr. Dominguez did one more thing that I thought was really, really nice. I really loved it. In his presentation, he continually referred to best practices and innovations in other industries as the way forward. You know, he talked about Howard Schultz from Starbucks. He talked about, hey, it's not a coffee house, it's the other space. It's the space that you enjoy and you're relaxing on your way home. He talked about the culture of Zappos. How about, you know, if you were going through training at Zappos after 2 months, if you didn't like the company culture, if you didn't like that servant leadership spirit, they give you $5,000 to leave. Hey, that's a leaving bonus if you don't like our culture. And he also talked about the teamwork of the San Antonio Spurs. I really think he's a big sports fan, so he really dived into that with both feet, and he showed us what their spirit of leadership by taking a back seat really meant to them. And by doing all this, he was really telling us that we also need to take our old ways of doing things and make them take a back seat to new ideas or fresh blood with new ideas. And by doing that, whether he meant it or not, he pointed to the second big irony in the hospitality industry that I see. Okay? We often look for new ideas from inside of our industry to drive our industry forward. Did you get that? It's like relying on the old guard to create innovation. It would be like the Spurs looking for a new point guard from their old lineup, you know? That's ironic. That's nepotism. You know, that's thinking inside the box. And Michael Dominguez really wasn't saying that we should do that. So even though he didn't really come right out and say it, he was leading us in the right direction. And that is, if you want breakthrough results, you have to look at other industries and see what's working there, and then steal those best practices for yourself. Right? So, if you're ready for change, if you want to be relevant in the next 5 to 10 years, what does all this mean? What is Mr. Dominguez telling us? He means that you should probably take a good long look at what the OTAs are doing, at how they're growing their businesses, and how they're pushing innovation. And then, you know, take the time to walk a mile in their shoes. Because when you do, you'll see the OTAs took their best practices from the e-commerce industry. And the e-commerce industry actually took its best practices from the direct response industry. Now, I am a direct response copywriter, so I see this chain of possession, this chain of ownership as it's happened. And in my industry, we know it's all about trackable ROI. And that's what you should be focused on as well. Because really, this is the chain of ownership. If you cannot track your results, you cannot test. If you cannot test, you can't improve. And if you can't improve, you will always be at the mercy of someone who can. Think about what the OTAs do, about how they grow their business. They'll put out 2 pay-per-click campaigns. The one that does better, they'll put more focus there. And then within that one, they'll put out 2. And which one does better? They'll put more focus there. It's very, very logical, very, very straightforward. This is the fundamentals of direct response. And I really believe if you look at the OTAs, you'll see that. So you see the OTAs have tracking in every individual pay-per-click campaign. So they always know which ones are the winners and the losers. This lets them continually refine their game, so they're always taking a little bit bigger and bigger bite of your lunch. So then, it really only stands to reason. If you want to take your hotel and your career to the next level, you need to figure out how you can borrow the OTA's best practices for your own advantage. You need to, number 1, add a high degree of trackability to your organic and your paid marketing. So number 2, you can constantly test and refine your approach as well. Okay? Because when you can do that, this is what direct response does. Number 1, we are able to send out niche promotions. We are able to use growth hacking, like I just showed you. One pay-per-click, the other pay-per-click. Hey, this one wins. Okay, well, let's do messaging around that. Let's do landing pages. Let's do email. Let's do campaigns around that. And number 3, all in all, you can shift your marketing budget away from expensive OTA channels to owned media, to things that you are completely in control of and you're not competing against everybody else and their brother on that same screen. And all of this puts you in control. All right? So if you're willing to change, you can beat the ironies in the hospitality industry of volatility and nepotism by simply realizing the OTAs aren't your competitors or even your partners. They are your leaders in online conversion. All right? And as such, all you have to do is think about how they grow their business online, adopt those best practices, and beat them at their own game. After all, you have the home team advantage. All right, so are you ready to beat the OTAs at their own game? Then join me on January 31st as I show you how you can use direct response to add trackability to your marketing. I give you the tested headline strategies for attracting the right guests through pay-per-click, and I walk you through my book, 300% More Direct Bookings in 30 Days, a complete copywriting system for measurable results. It's all about measurable results after all. So just go here, moredirectbooking.com/Jan31st, and remember, direct bookings are not just important for your hotel's bottom line, though everybody loves that. They're essential for your career. All right, looking forward to talking with you there, and have a great day.